Welcome back one and all, my name's Eltimar and we are going to be continuing our Let's Play of Torment, Ties of Numenera. Yes, there is going to be a third video before I leave for vacation. It's happening right now. I couldn't stay away, I needed to do another video. I'm really enjoying this game so far and I'm kind of sad that my vacation falls at a time when this game came out. It's a little bit disheartening, but that's okay. I'll play it when I get back. Let's get you to the cult of the Changing God. They're encamped by the clock in the great square here. City carved in stone achievement. There's a seer up here. There's a whole bunch of people actually. Oh, okay, that's too much overlay. That's too much. That's just, if I had one critique so far, that's too much overlay. Alright, let's go to the seer. You gonna put some shins in the bucket or just stand there gawking? I am not gonna put shins in your bucket. Ooh, an arms merchant. Armors of wildly different materials are arrayed neatly within the stall. Okay. We also have a dagger. I'm going to throw that on my character because we are a light character person. Or light weapon person, I think. Does it matter? We're not good with heavy weapons, but we're okay with medium weapons. Why don't we just use the medium weapon? You know what? We're going to use the medium weapon. Can we dual wield? No. Okay. We're pretty close to a level, actually. Except he's not, he's nowhere close. And what's he using for a weapon? Also a mace. Everyone has maces in my group. Let's talk to Steristi. Nearly every inch of this merchant's body is covered in tightly wound robes and furs. A hood obscures its head, and a mask conceals its face. It caresses a cracked ancient scroll with dark fingers. It notices you and gently taps its similarly dressed companion on the shoulder, leaving a smudge of fibrous ink. Felinda recognized the thief at once, the creature says, crossing its swaddled arms. Perhaps he imagined that by speaking with Steristi, he would evade Felinda's notice. Unfortunately for him, nothing ever did. I'm gonna watch Steristi work. The merchant's spread-fingered hands glide over a faded parchment with the faint sounds of quills scratching. Vibrant letters in an unfamiliar tongue appear in their wake. I'm going to watch her work some more. The merchant again passes a hand over the page and you hear the scrape of quill on paper. Dark letters emerge from the shadow of that hand as if pulled from beneath the page. Why is your partner narrating me? Steristi either ignores you or does not hear you. I'll watch her work one more time. Okay, nothing's going on. Actually, you know what? There was something we should say. Why don't you talk? The merchant does not acknowledge your question in the slightest. Okay. Let's talk to Felinda then. Oh wait, already read this. Nearly every inch of this merchant's body is covered in tightly wound robes and furs. A hood obscures its head, and a mask conceals its face. This doesn't stop you from noticing that it is apparently furious with you. Trembling, it bats at its similarly dressed companion. Both of them turn impassive masks back to you. Neither Felinda nor Steristi could believe it, but the thief had come back. Had he come in shame to return what he had taken? No. His hands were empty, his expression baffled. Felinda crosses the swaddled arms. Perhaps the thief had simply forgotten to return what he had borrowed, but this made him no less a thief. You must have met the previous inhabitant of this body. What did he take? The thief asked, Felinda faltered, but only for a moment. The merchant's memory was as organized as a library shelf, and it remembered this face twisted with desire for the very book in question. It remembered the same voice making promises it apparently had no intent of keeping. 10 years ago, this thief had borrowed a book. Felinda wondered if the scoundrel was possibly unfamiliar with the definition of the word. It did not mean to take a thing and keep it after all. Steristi pointedly returns to work, ignoring you both. Felinda sighs, massaging his temples with gloved hands. But in the end, Felinda took a deep, deep breath and asked the thief to simply return the sealed and long overdue book with the 5-colored sigil on its cover. I'll find the book, you have my word. The thief declared, and Felinda was satisfied, temporarily, and with that, the merchant returns to his work as well. Why do you narrate everything I say? The thief said, but Felinda knew from long experience that there was no explaining it. The merchant kneels before a bookshelf and jammed book after book into the remaining space. This frustrated Felinda. After all, the two merchants were creatures of words, bound in metal and cloth, but whenever Felinda tried to bend these same words into explanations and answers, they crumbled and fell apart. They could not fold themselves around the truth. The merchant slams the final book into place, and so Felinda said nothing. Okay, bye.
Updated my journal.
So we have a book to find, apparently. There are two people, El Jinto and Kanadu. In front of you is a weary traveler whose grim visage is mostly obscured by a pointy hat. He's a wizard. Upon closer inspection, the lines on his face indicate he has seen much and has many tales to tell. "Hello there, friend," he says. "Here to see the Nishlemeron, my friend in the cage over there? Or are you just looking to spend a word or two?" Let me see the creature. "Your curiosity does you credit, friend. It will only cost you 10 shins. "That's too much. I'm the only one in line. How about 10? Or 25 shins was the initial. I'm doing 10. Beautiful. El Jinjo surveys you with an unreadable gambler stare, stroking his chin with a cracked thumb. Finally he smiles. "Always nice to meet a fellow botterer," he says, and takes your money. "Visit our guests whenever you're ready." Worth every shin, I promise," he says, pocketing your admission fee. "Visit our guest whenever you're ready." I'm also looking for someone who can repair a complicated device. "It must be in desperate shape if you're patrolling the circus, talking to strangers," he says. "Do you have a piece of the device? Might be that I can offer my opinion." "Could you come look at the device?" "Kanadu would never forgive me if I left him alone," he says. "He might up having to talk to someone. When that happens, he's in a mood for days." He rubs the back of his hand across his mouth. "I take it that means you don't have it on you?" "Are you sure I can't convince you to come?" "Not a chance," he says. "I'm needed here. Sure as water falls and dust rises. Don't have it on you, eh?" "No." "Can't help you fix something I've never seen. Sorry, friend." I'm gonna go talk to the thingy. The cage in which the creature floats is a simple frame that contains a shimmering, nearly transparent cylinder of energy. It emits a low hum, barely audible, that sets your teeth on edge. The container is a delicate filigree of ornate materials with no apparent controls, but surely they must be hidden somewhere in the traceries and protrusions of the wirework. You approach the cage cautiously. The monster within it looks like a fungal blob mated with a muscular ichthyoid. Its multiple tentacles terminate in syringes, needles, and injectors. This mass is atop, and is integrated with a floating orb of some type. It seems to be both mechanical and biological, with one system flowing smoothly into the next, a creation from the same mad nightmare. The energy field darkens protectively, and automatically as the creature throws itself at the walls, thrashing and striking mindlessly with its needle-tipped tentacles. The darkening is almost a strobe-like effect. Even as you watch, one of its tentacles coils back and blasts furious plasma at the walls of its cage. The cage holds, but the shields dim to prevent any radiation from the blast escaping. I'm going to examine the cage. The cage appears to be made of a mixture of synth, spun strong glass, and a lightweight metal, intricately embroidered to create mind-warping patterns, evocative and strange. Energy shifts and flickers among the crevices, somehow being shaped by the form of the materials. Your closer examination reveals a smooth panel, worked cunningly into the frame of the cage. Some of the filigrees here are worn and smooth, as if eroded by friction. Perhaps these are the controls. Let's try it. The cage's hum dips lower for a moment, throbbing, almost at the limit of your hearing. Your bones and teeth ache briefly, and everyone within 3 meters of the cage clasps their hands to their ears. Are you trying to kill us all? Leave the cage alone! He shoves you away from the cage. Do you even know what'll happen if that thing gets free? What are you? If anything, the creature redoubles its efforts to strike at you, its limbs a flurry of rage. How did you come to be here? It draws itself away from the edge of the energy field for a moment, as if gathering its thoughts, and then it launches itself at you, rebounding off the deceptively solidity of the cage. Its tentacles flail wildly, the needles at their tips glinting and oozing. What can you tell me of this place? A dim light builds underneath the Nycthemeron, there we go. The orb at its base glowing brighter and brighter. 2 tentacles stroke it and they pull out a streamer of bright lightning. They stretch it between themselves, building in intensity, and then they hurl it at you. The walls of the cage darken instantly, and when they lighten again, you see the monster within flailing and crashing fruitlessly against its invisible walls. That thing is not happy at all. Can you understand me at all? The creature redoubles its efforts to strike at you, so no. Let's examine the cage again. Touch the cage itself. You reach out to the cage, your fingers hovering over some of the cunningly worked materials, and then you lay your hands on the cage. You close a circuit in the energy somewhere, or you become part of it, and strange energies jolt through your body. The shock hurls you away from the cage. Ow. If that carks you, you got no one to blame but yourself, you stupid tulk. This large, bald, broad-shouldered man turns to face you. You freeze. It's not his dark cloak or his sledgehammer. It's that beneath his mustache and goatee, he is so ugly that he'd scare his own mother in a dark alley. He gives you an abrupt nod, and you get the distinct impression that here stands a man who enjoys the boredom of standing guard and the company of his own thoughts. He lays his gaze over the city's skyline and falls into patient silence. I'm looking for someone who can repair a device. We don't know anyone like that. We aren't from around here. Elgin says I can visit the Nycthemeron. Good, Kennedy says, furrowing his patchy eyebrows. It's clear that he doesn't understand why you're still talking to him. Alright, bye.
Ready.
There are random people here. The Death of Riss. The Riss. The Devourer of Wrongs. Spectators, Horror Pride. There's Tibir. Who's Tibir? Pacing the edges of the crowd is a paunchy old soldier with a swaggering stride. At the moment, however, his jauntiness seems overshadowed by worry, and he alternates between watching the execution and searching the crowd as if looking for a miracle. Then his eyes light on you.
I say, you look like someone who believes in justice. How'd you like to help a poor soul wrongfully condemned?
What kind of help do you need? I don't need anything, but my friend there on the platform is dying. The nightmares his executioners have induced in him to spill from him every word he speaks, and wrap around him like a snake. He glances at the execution. I know there are but a few strands around him now, but in a few days' time, they'll choke the life out of him. I cannot imagine a more horrible way to die. He pauses. Well, that's not true. I have an imagination that was Seamus Taylor. He leans in. You'll need to be swift and willing to hold justice above law, but there is a way to save him if you'll hear me out. Alright, what's your plan? A simple one, but it requires nerve. Listen. He lowers his voice. It would be nothing for someone of your noble demeanor to masquerade as a city official and ask the council clerk for an archived copy of an old stay of execution. Once you have it, I'll write out a fresh one and add Riss's name. Then we'll present it to the overseer there, and poor Riss will be set free. He spreads his hands. There you have it, a foolproof, risk-free plan. That sounds like an extremely risky plan. Nonsense, he says, waving a hand. Couldn't be simpler. Just be calm, confident, and wear a winning smile. He gives you a winning smile. Where do I find the council clerk? He'd be in Government Square, of course. There's a podium outside the council tower. I can't think of a time he wasn't there. Wouldn't it be simpler to talk to the crowd at the execution, convince them to rise up and free Riss? Tibir looks uneasy. Well, you're welcome to try, friend, but leave me out of it. Sage's Cliff's crowds are notoriously bloodthirsty, and the execution officials are not known for their sense of humor. You might regret it later, and you'd be alone when you did. Alright, I'll help you. Excellent. Then you'll need a proper story and a badge of office. Fortunately, I have the first, and you can buy the second from Sengolin, the clothing merchant in Government Square. He folds his arms. Once you have a badge of office, you will tell the council clerk you are sent from the Judicial Oversight Committee looking into corruption in the communication of capital sentences. The stay you are asking for is that of a notorious gangster named Cole Carden, who was mysteriously set free a few years ago. When you get Cole's stay of execution, I'll make a copy with Riss's name on it, and you can give it to the overseer who will free him. You see, simple. He rubs his hand together. Now, if you let me join you, I'd be happy to show you around the city and help you with all this, and whatever else you're doing. What do you say? Yeah, I like you. You sound cool. It will be my pleasure, but hurry. There's not a moment to lose. Riss hasn't much time. So we have a guy named Tibir. He's decent at intellect, not so good at might, and he has a broadsword as his... Actually, you know what? I like swords way more than I like maces. I'm going to switch him up. Trade me, bro. I like swords better. You can have a mace. It's a medium weapon. It's close enough.
Isn't it?
Here we go, then.
How's my sword look? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about.
Doing it now.
Alright, Prada. Who are you? In the shadows cast by the folds of this merchant's cowl, you glimpse hints of verdant chitin and amber mandibles erupting from pale human flesh. Her voluminous robes cannot hide the fact that her movements are off, as if too many joints inhabit too little space. She's a cockroach like Men in Black, but her voice is a warm, tumbling flood of spoken thoughts and impulses. A fair afternoon to you. Warm, isn't it? Something begins humming in one of her many pockets, and her brilliant, multifaceted eyes flicker towards an invisible point in the distance. Well, not as warm as it could be, but this is the warmest minute of the week by a considerable margin. She trails off, but the hum continues. Oh, you have one of those tattoos too. Anyway, can I interest you in some prime artifacts? Dusty relics? Numenera of uncertain origin? You appear to be transforming into an insect. I know, isn't it fantastic? I think it might be caused by the intermingling fields of the Numenera I used to organize my thoughts, or the ones I'm selling, maybe all of them. You never know how a variety of ciphers will interact with each other. They are such fun. You said someone else had my tattoo. Who? Oh, right, a pale lady. She wanted me to fix an artifact of hers, but I couldn't make any sense of it, and that is rare, believe me. Practice sighs. I feel sorry for her, to tell you the truth. She seemed sad, like she had lost something and was never going to get it back. I'm looking for someone who can repair a complex machine. Can you help? Ooh, I love to. Complex machines are my favorite, but no, I shouldn't. I'm really behind on my work orders this month. This may surprise you, but I'm very, very, very easily distracted. She shrugs beneath her robes. You're better off with someone else. Sorry. Let's see what you're selling. She has 2 ciphers, teleportation and fresh vapor. Wait, that's ours. Maybe? That's hers. Over there. Okay, she has a Presector, a phase detonation. That sounds cool. A reconstitutor. A cryophorus dart. That sounds neat. A third man. And a contingent subroutine. And then just some normal junk. That being said, we can sell some stuff. We'll sell that. We'll sell the greatsword, no one uses it. And we'll sell the buzzer, no one uses that as well. We sold the view shard as well. It's just an oddity. I don't think they're actually anything of note. I think oddities are just sellable things.
All right.
Paja, who are you? This couple stands together, their shared gaze fixed away from you. No words pass between them. Instead, they share a silent language of tenderness. Their bodies turn subtly towards each other, forming a private space between them. His hand reaches for hers, and without looking, she claims it. Still looking past you, they smile together. His a curving line carved in oak. Hers is unabashed and radiant as a lantern on a starless night. Turning, you see the object of their attention, a young boy darting between the stalls and playing in the dust. Each distant, exhilarating shout widens their respective smiles and tightens their grip on each other. Is that your son? Yes, he says firmly. He's still watching the boy, but a wary stillness has spilled into his posture. She swats his shoulder, and there's more punch than playfulness in it. Not yet, she says. We adopted Jerem, and we're waiting to see how he feels about that, aren't we, Kellinor? His eyes flicker stubbornly, but he does not respond. Why did you decide to adopt? Smooth, kid. That's just the kind of thing people like talking about with strangers. Oh, I'm not embarrassed, Paja says, eyes gleaming. We love telling the story. Well, Kellinor and I, we've been together for how long? Years, Kellinor says, a glint in his eye. And we knew we wanted children, so we tried and tried. We tried a lot. Some days, I barely had time to put my clothes on before Kel took them off again. Go on. Paja raises her eyebrow, but continues. Well, there was a poor Kel, practically falling asleep on shift, forgetting his trousers half the time, and me with nothing to show for it but a glow on my cheeks. Clearly we were working with a barren field. Or faulty seeds, Kellinor adds, deadpan. Does run in the family. So we decided to find a child who needed a home rather than getting old trying to make one of our own, Paja says. That answers your question? More than adequately. I thought so, Paja says with a wide grin. We get asked this question a lot, and finally we found that being explicit about the process makes the questions just melt away. Got what you asked for there, Aligarn says, chuckling. What brings you here? Jerem likes it, Kellinor says. The stern expression around his stern eyes softens somewhat. We don't have much time between shifts, Paja explains. Our money to spend on fripperies. So we bring him to the market where we can watch him play. It's better than a night at the theater. Kellinor raises their clasped hands again and kisses her bruised knuckles. Okay, bye. I was hoping I would get a new character out of that, but nope, not so much. There's slavers here. There's also Zeofi the sculptor. So the next couple videos are probably going to be just town stuff, mostly. This portly man's cracked and bleeding hands are always moving, picking fretfully at his thick lips, running through his thinning hair, or molding aimless shapes in the air. His clothes are marked with paint, dust, dried blood, and clay. His eyes brim with frustrated tears as he studies the strangely familiar structures arrayed about him. Blah. A soul like slivers of ice, he mutters. Fingertips long, shriveled, sharp. Screams trapped in flesh. She holds him in place. She's killing him. He's not looking at her. Why isn't he afraid? Afraid? No. He claws absently at his sparse beard. What am I not seeing? What am I missing? A potential customer? What? No, you're not, he says, effortlessly drawing you in his self-directed trade. No one wants these. They're honest but ugly. Death pulled from dead stone. He coughs a cloud of dust. And I wouldn't sell it to anyone in any case. Not even for a tuft of bread. None of them are worth buying. None of them are right. I am Zyafi, a stone carver, sculptor, and divine painter of living eyes. And in this challenge, my greatest work, my talent has finally abandoned me. He sweeps a scornful hand at the sculptures. Behold my art, wanderer. Witness these dull stumps, these crude replicas of sublime being. What is it you think I've made? I'm going to try and recall why the sculptures look so familiar. We're going to give ourselves a good amount of oomph so that we can do it successfully. You stare at the sculptures, your memories flow into its sweeping curves, teasing you with what you've seen in your short life and beyond. Yes, this towering thing is the true form of the creature that pursues you. Zyafi has sculpted the Sora. You don't realize that you've spoken aloud until you hear Zyafi's gasp and see the tears in his eyes. Yes, sorrow or even grief is present in the work. I can feel it, but where? I cannot pull it from the stone. I saw this creature on a cold night not long ago. Smoking coronas of blackened light drew me to my window. Zyafi says, shaping the scene with his palms. And there, on the street below, was she, gripping a man in her talons. Before my very eyes, she ripped his essence from him, leaving him a steaming husk. He drops his hands. What do you care? You don't grasp the importance of capturing such a subject. Of course I do. She is mysterious and fascinating. She? Zyafi stares at you dumbfounded. You think I'm trying to sculpt the killer? He says, then immediately corrects himself. Of course I am. I've succeeded, in fact. She is beauty and vengeance incarnate. What artist worth his metal couldn't capture such a being? But she doesn't need to be remembered. How can anyone forget such a lethal creature? No, the source of my ruin is this damnable man. Zyafi points a trembling finger at the faceless human cradled in the statue's talons, a charred, oddly familiar pattern etched on the stone head. He stared eternity in the face and did not blink, but he will be forgotten unless I capture him here, and I cannot do that unless I know what drove him. Zyafi smiles. At the moment he fell, I ran for the street, but the Dendra O'Hur claimed his body and took it away, probably to their foul chapel in the underbelly. Now I'll never know who he was. If I learn anything about the subject, I'll let you know.
Making a note.
There's another quest for us. Let's go talk to the slavers. As you approach, the wild-eyed woman eyes you speculatively and whispers something for her companions. They burst out laughing, and a slight smirk plays about her lips. A breathing mask dangles from a cord around her neck, and you can see where it has cut permanent grooves into her face. She ruffles her hair, messing it still further, and sings out, "Come to buy a slave, cast-off! You come to me if you want. You must want something of the sort." How do you know I'm a cast-off? A tattoo. I've had dealings with your kinds before. I know about you. She rakes her fingers through her hair. If anything, the motion serves to obscure her vision even more. So, cast-off, I have information you might want. Of course, it comes with a price. What's the price?
I'll remember that.
One of my wards has run off. She's taken a head wound, not my doing, and I've been watching after her. I don't know where she's gone, but I suspect she's headed to Cliff's Edge. Plenty of other urchins clamoring about the place, and she'd find it easy to blend in. Sadly, my troop and I are detained here, so we can't go ourselves. She's a scrawny child, named Marin. Head wound, but it's covered by dark, curly hair. Has a little necklace around her throat. Babbles about her gods. Go get her for me, and I'll tell you what you want to know. Alright, I'll do it. Don't take long, my time is valuable, cast-off.
Alright.
There is so much happening in the city, it's crazy. And we're not even, like, out of the first section. We've gone nowhere so far. Levi. I think his name's Levi. Good day to you, visitor. Must be some sort of guard or soldier. What's an autochthon? Autochthon? That's a hard word. Random townsfolk. Oh, there's something here. What's this? Subtle energy plays along the cables, though whether to prepare the fish for consumption or deter their theft, you could not say.
Alright.
Okay, that leads out of this district. We're not going to leave quite yet. The zoom on click is annoying. I wonder if I can turn that off. Camera mode. Edge scrolling mode, let's try that. Now if I go like that. Perfect! That fixed the problem. That leaves the area as well. Embedded in the cliff wall is a massive structure that clearly predates the buildings surrounding it. Ooh, there's something here. Let's figure out what quick save is. We should probably learn that. That could be important. Quick save is F5, quick load is F9. Let's quick save.
Yes.
This structure is embedded in the ground, and it was clearly not made by the same people who built Circus Minor. It looks as though the device extends deeper into the ground below the road. Weathered ruins are spread across the device's surface. Can't do anything with it, so I guess that was not helpful. Changing God Colossus all around here. This is where we were supposed to go, apparently. Look, look! It's one of the Death Cheater's vessels. Ah, can it be? What a fortune, what joy! Casmine will want to see you, Vessel, and Mimion too. Alright, we have two people to talk to, apparently. I want to press the thing first, though. This is an ancient device embedded in the ground where the ruins are etched into its surface. We can't do anything with it, so not our problem at the moment. So who's Mimion and where do I go?
Yes.
None of these people are... Oh, there's Casmion and Mimion. Okay.
On it.
Let's just check this artifact first. I doubt we can do anything with it. Yeah, nothing we can do with it yet.
Yes. Now.
We don't even have a name, we're just the cast-off. Let us quick save before talking to them. Casmion, let's talk to her first. As you approach the duo, you see that they are arguing heatedly but quietly. The petite woman turns towards you. Her hair is unusual, a light almost yellow color, and her bright eyes dominate her pretty face. Excuse me, sir. My friend and I were having a discussion, and her eyes fall upon your tattoo, and her breath catches audibly in her throat. Her partner is an unnaturally tall man, gaunt and sour-faced. He is really tall. His voice sonorous, with fingers that twitch and weave through strange contortions. Occasional light sparks in the air as he does. He turns to you and opens his mouth to speak, registers your tattoo and closes it again. His throat bobs for a moment and he says, "It is an honor." He nods his head to the two of them. I brought someone you should meet. He turns to you. These are Casmion and Mimion. They are the leaders of the local branch of your church. Give our thanks for the introduction. Wait, is this a girl? Which one's which? Give our thanks for the introduction, Elegern. Our deepest thanks. He eyes the Aeon priest for a moment as if about to say more, but thinks better of it. He collects himself. If I might impose on your time for a moment, will you tell me about your tattoo? How did you shape it? Do you know why it differs from the others? Others? You mean other cast-offs? Yes, revered one, your siblings. He bows deeply, and his fingers spark with repressed joy. You were a child of the changing god. His mind saw the world through your eyes. He gained knowledge in your body, as he has done countless times over the centuries. The tattoo on your head marks you. We theorize it has a role to play in his creation of you, his cast-off shells. You are welcome here, revered one. We stand ready to serve as we can. Have you any questions for us? Do you know anything about a device called a resonance chamber? Rumor and conjecture, nothing more. Idle speculation from those who wish to pretend to knowledge of your sire's motivations, passed along as fact. He leans out to touch you. Have you seen it? Do you know where it is? What it does? The resonance chamber is in the reef of fallen worlds under a broken dome. Truly? Oh, Mim, we should organize an exploratory party. Just think, we might be among the first to touch it. And perhaps to learn something from it. His voice is a gentle rebuke. We should focus on uncovering and celebrating his hidden accomplishments, Cass, not prancing around his existing creations like superstitious savages. He waves his fingers, and with that, an epiphany seems to break in his mind. He looks at you sharply now, all distraction gone. I do not recognize you, he says. You do not match any descriptions we have recorded. She snaps her fingers as if she is finally figuring it out. Wait, let me remember your face. She studies you carefully. Oh my, you're new. Are you the changing god? Can it be? She reaches out to touch your sleeve and pulls her hand back quickly. I'm not the changing god. Elegern, his eyes flicker towards you and his mouth draws down for a moment, but he says nothing. He nods, satisfied. As I thought, you are a cast-off, one of his children. He touches you with his long-fingered hand as if in consolation. There is no shame in such a thing. Many cast-offs have come to our attention, and some of them have sought to deceive us so that they might seem more important. He smiles softly. If you are as new as we suspect, it is better for you, for us, to know the truth of your existence than to bluster and lie. Crestfallen, she touches your shoulder. Are you certain you're not? She catches herself. No. Why would you lie about that? With a noticeable effort, she wrenches herself into optimism and chirps, But you're new, aren't you? You're new. Have you decided what you'll do? What you'll be? Your sire's other children have done amazing things. Amazing! And no doubt you will as well. He lays a hand on her shoulder and his voice is low. Cautionary. Cass? She looks away from you for a moment, swallowing sudden tears, and says, We have a request for you. He gestures towards the clock behind him. Dark figures circumambulate these clock faces. I theorize that your sire's creation of the time shields that protected the city's established connection with his future selves. Given this, we believe that these figures may be cast-offs or ghosts of cast-off. Perhaps the living shells of the bodies your creator has worn previously. His fingers shrug eloquently for him. The clock is unmoored in time, you see. We do not have a knowledge sufficient to investigate, but you might. You have a connection with with he who created the clock. You should be able to align it with the present time and uncover who these figures are. A gentle rare smile appears. If you cannot, at least you will increase our store of knowledge. She smiles bravely, looking between Mimion and you, and says, And then we can answer the questions you must have, right? I'll do it. His composure breaks for a moment, and a wash of relief floods his face. This will be a true gift to knowledge, revered one. Perhaps you can find an answer where others have failed. You'll have our thanks, our boundless praise. We will answer what we can for you then. Return to us, revered one. We will wait for you.
Making a note.
Alright. Quick save time. Let's try this clock, mabob.
I'm going.
I'm clicking the clock. That doesn't look like any clock I know of. This complex machine towers over you. Its purpose is unclear, but the three circular faces set into the ground remind you of clocks. Something is wrong with the machine, however. It is partially transparent, shimmering in the air when you look directly at it. The clock faces seem to show several different times at once. Humanoid silhouettes ripple beneath a central clock face. One places his hands against the face as though it were a glass wall. They seem to be watching you. I'm going to reach for the silhouetted figures. Your hand passes straight through the clock face, the figures, and the entire structure. It's as if the entire machine wasn't even there. As you pull your hand away, a memory strikes you as powerfully as if someone took a club to your chest. You are working at the clock. It is no longer transparent, but perfectly solid. There is noise behind you. So they've come. The three traitors. They think to surprise you, but through the powers of the clock, you have foreseen this moment. There's the faintest sound of metal sliding against leather. You slap a hand on the central clock face, activating the clock's arcane powers. You're not sure what it will do to them, but it's better than what they'll do to you. There's a flash. Arcs of energy stretch out from the clock over your shoulder to your would-be attackers. You don't see what happens to them, but they quickly disappear along with their screams. As the last shreds of memory fade, a swirl of energy passes through your body. Cold barbs prick every muscle. Suddenly, tidal forces arc from the clock to the three ancient devices in the cultist encampment. The clock recognized something inside of you, or maybe vice versa. Either way, you've inadvertently activated the nearby devices.
I'll remember that.
Interesting. The things we couldn't touch before are now touchable. But we are out of time on this video, so we're going to end it here. The next video will either be later this afternoon, if I have time, which I'm hoping to find more time to do more videos, or it will be when I return from vacation. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.